The wind screamed through the ragged canyons of Delker 4, a half-terraformed frontier world riddled with jagged ridges, harsh red storms, and pockets of breathable air. It wasn't a vacation spot. It was a place where people came to disappear or scrape together a living mining thorite under corporate contract. Daniel Reyes hadn't meant to be here long. After losing his team on a failed diplomatic protection Op-2 systems over, he was waiting out the storm, both literally and figuratively. Living alone in a rust bucket atmospheric crawler, he spent his days repairing drones and trading salvage with passing scavengers. But the red dust storm he'd been monitoring had other plans. The distress signal cracked through the static like a dying whisper. Repeating. Unregistered. He shouldn't have cared. Protocol said to report it to Colonial Safety and let their drones handle it. But something about the cadence of the transmission. It sounded personal. Desperate. Unknown vessel, life support failing. Coordinates. Kikethelta, please. I am cold. He tightened his suit seals, kicked the crawler's engine to life, and followed the signal into hell. She was barely alive when he found her. Her craft, a sleek, biologically engineered pod, had been torn apart by the storm. Half buried in red dust, the rear section was ablaze with blue ion fire. Inside, wrapped in flickering containment foam, lay something he'd only seen in galactic briefings. A curry. Slender, pale violet skin. Bioluminescent strands of hair clung to her cheeks. Her breathing was shallow, her black eyes dull. Her right arm was twisted unnaturally, and a gash ran down her side. Daniel didn't hesitate. He wrapped her in thermal gel, sealed the bleeding with metafoam, and hauled her out of the wreck with gritted teeth. She was lighter than expected, almost fragile, but something in her body twitched, a sign of life fighting to stay. She groaned as he laid her in the crawler's medbay. "You, not Curry," she breathed. "Nope," he muttered, slapping a portable med unit onto her side. "Human. And your lucky one passed by." Over the next 2 days, she drifted in and out of consciousness. Daniel watched over her, administering fluids and painkillers, using his dwindling supply of nanobots to patch internal trauma. She was delirious at times, murmuring words he didn't understand, songs or prayers maybe. But eventually she woke fully, staring at him with sharp, analyzing eyes. "You saved me." "Guess I did," Daniel said. "You have a name." "Oz." "Viliitera," she said. "Daughter of House Salion, keeper of the sky spires." He raised an eyebrow. "Sounds noble." "I am," she said, a bit of pride returning to her voice. Daniel chuckled. "Of course you are." They spoke more as she recovered. She was a diplomatic envoy en route to a trade negotiation when her escort ships were attacked by pirates. She'd fled in an escape pod, only to crash here. Most curry, he learned, weren't used to raw planetary conditions. Delker 4's atmosphere had nearly killed her. "You shouldn't have risked your life," she said one evening, sitting up and sipping warm nutrient broth. "By curry law, such an act demands repayment." Daniel shrugged. "You're alive. That's enough." She blinked. "You don't understand. I owe you my life. There is only one acceptable repayment for a life debt of this magnitude." He raised an eyebrow. "A thank you card." She met his gaze. "Marriage." He choked on his protein bar. "Excuse me." Viliitera nodded solemnly. In curry tradition, when one's life is saved beyond all expectation, the bond created is sacred. The soul is considered twined with the Savior's. It must be acknowledged. Consummated. Daniel blinked, thoroughly unprepared for ancient alien marriage customs. Okay. First of all, I didn't save you expecting anything in return. Second, we just met. I mean, you're great and all, and the glowing hair is surprisingly cool, but it is not about attraction, she interrupted. It is law. To ignore it would bring dishonor to my house, and exile to me. You would be declared a soul thief. A what? She narrowed her eyes. A deceiver who saves only to leave. It is forbidden. I would be shunned. My people would send hunters. You would be marked. Daniel stood slowly, rubbing the back of his neck. Well, crap. In the days that followed they argued, discussed, debated, and ultimately bonded. Terra wasn't what Daniel expected from a princess. She was fierce, intelligent, with a dry humor that emerged more often as she healed. She found his sarcasm amusing, his hands excessively rough but warm. She loved the taste of his terrible instant coffee, hated his old music, and beat him at three-dimensional chess every single time. I still don't think marriage is the answer, Daniel muttered one night as they sat watching Delker's sun dip behind copper ridges. And yet you feel it too, do you not? She asked, her voice softer. This twining. He looked at her. At the strange, elegant curve of her face. At the strength that returned to her each day. Maybe I do, he said quietly. They were married the next morning. A small ritual, conducted in accordance with Curry rites, broadcast to her people via secure uplink. She wore a salvaged ceremonial wrap from her escape pod. He wore his only clean shirt. Her people were not thrilled. First, Curry nobles demanded she annul it upon return. That the human be rewarded but set aside. A few even called for blood. But Terra stood firm. I owe him my life, she said before the Council of Houses. But more than that, I chose him. He is no thief. He is the one who did not walk away when every survival instinct told him to. Months passed. Daniel returned with her to the Curry homeworld, an oceanic planet of floating citadels and light-flecked skies. There he became a curiosity, then a political anomaly, and then something more. Humanity and the Curry had long been wary allies. But this was unprecedented. A human married into nobility, sharing oaths in ancient rites. It sent shockwaves through both governments. But what began as scandal turned into soft diplomacy. Daniel and Terra were invited to councils. Beaches. Treaties were reviewed. Trade opened. Scientists exchanged knowledge. And somewhere amid the chaos, their marriage deepened into something real. One night, as they floated in a gravity-free bath chamber under a canopy of bioluminescent sky coral, Terra whispered, "Do you regret it?" Daniel kissed her temple. Not even slightly. Then came the threat. A rogue faction from the pirate fleets that had shot down Viliai's ship resurfaced. They had acquired pre-Eschaton weapons, dangerous technology from a long-dead civilization. And they wanted revenge. The Curry Defense Assembly debated for weeks, but it was Daniel who proposed the solution. "Let me lead the mission," he said. "I've seen their tactics. I've fought worse. And I have the one thing they don't expect." "Which is?" asked one general. He glanced at Terra. "Someone worth protecting." The mission was brutal. Infiltration, sabotage, and orbital combat. Daniel led a combined team of Curry defenders and human marines into the heart of the pirate armada. They disabled the pre-Eschaton weapons before they could be activated. Daniel was wounded during the final assault, an ion shard to the side. He collapsed in Viliai's arms aboard the medship. "Stay with me," she whispered desperately. The same words he'd once said to her.